So a little bit of background first. We decided we were going to rent the motorhome for a few nights before we purchased it so that we could test it on hookup, also with the children in the van and also at altitude and in the cold. So this is the first night where we had it on hookup. I tested all the electrics. I've got my friend here, Sonny. He lives on the campsite, so he's obviously very familiar, very comfortable with campsite life. And a couple of shots of the van itself. I'm going to do a guided tour around the van once we've got everything dealt with. That's Kasha, Sonic's girlfriend, and that's the campsite. To be fair, the campsite itself was spectacular. The facilities were great, very, very clean. And if I recall, for the van, 2 adults and electric hookup, it was €27.50 for the night. And the campsite has a massive pool, dedicated barbecue areas, at least 2 or 3 toilet blocks, and also a grey and black water waste facility, which was fantastic. It just made life so much easier, especially for the first night. As you'll see in a moment, if you forget things, it's handy to be close to home.
Okay, it's 5:30 in the morning, day two. We forgot cups and coffee, so I'm going home to get it. Luckily, we've got a car as well. 5:30 in the morning in a small fishing village in Tenerife, and guess who found coffee and cups? Time to get back to the van.
Night one was fantastic. Had a little bit of trouble sleeping, but I think that's to be expected first night in a motorhome. The next day we went around the other side of the island. I decided to use the long route, as you can see, to just put the van through its paces on the motorway. Held 100, 120 kilometers an hour, no problem at all. Uh, Pretty much kept the speed down because we were enjoying the views. When you sat high up in a van, you can just see so much more. And one thing that has always bugged me about driving in Tenerife is I'm the driver, so I don't get to see the views because I'm focusing on the road. And as much as you have to focus on the road more when you're in a van, or especially a motorhome, the opportunity to see the views over the guardrails and above the other vehicles and even some buildings, spectacular. And as you can see in the distance there's Garachico Rock, and that's where we were going to park for the night. I'd actually found 2 or 3 places to choose from, just in case one got blown out or we had a problem. We found one that was really nice right next to the sea, but I decided to have a look at a second one, which I'll show you in a second. This particular road was a little bit of a challenge, and I knew it was going to be before we even got there. However, somebody did say they'd taken a 7 metre motorhome into this road, but it was still a bit of a surprise to me. If we'd have actually gone down the right hand side here, there is no way we would have got around the left hand bend that was coming up, and the locals that we're talking to there were telling us this. But they said go down the left hand side, pip your horn, which technically is a legal requirement in Spain if you're going round a tight bend, but nobody would expect a big motorhome coming towards them down the hill. So Fiona decided to get out and guide us down. I'm just going to fast forward through the next bit and show you where we actually ended up and why it was worth it. As soon as we turned around this corner and got into the car park, we both agreed this was where we were going to park for the night. The van that you see there, they've obviously been there many times before, and I think there was another van on the left. They were really friendly. We got chatting with them. They had a couple of dogs. I'm going to just show you now the view that we had when we parked up that night. It was definitely worth it. I was happy that the first night the van worked fine on hookup. Second night, all working off the battery. But the third test was taking it up the mountain, seeing how it performed at altitude, seeing if the heaters worked, and again seeing if it worked on the battery. I didn't discover until the next day when I took it back it's actually got a brand new solar panel and a brand new battery, so it was perfectly fine. The views from here, again, I'm going to drop in some photographs, absolutely spectacular, and the van performed really well. I was really surprised, but it is a 2.8 litre turbo diesel if I recall, so holding speeds going up mountains, not a problem at all for her.